Steve Foye from Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service. I'm the Deputy Chief Fire Officer. We've got a good history of attending the conferences, supporting AFSA for a number of years now. Joining Royal Berkshire 6 months ago and finding out that we were intending to host the conference was a huge pleasure, and it was really exciting to know we were doing that. AFSA as an organisation has a huge influence in the UK Fire and Rescue Service around inclusion. It brings services together, it shares practice, and it brings exposure to speakers and subjects that otherwise we just don't see. And it's what you take back from that, from the conference, into your organisations to keep moving on the subject of inclusion and how we influence our own organisation, our people, the people we employ, so that we are representative of our communities, but also how we then connect with those communities and have an influence on their safety and their well-being. There's a couple of things that I'm really going to take away from this conference. What was really stark in some of the things we heard yesterday was the harsh reality that we are still 95% white and male. And that can't be right in a modern fire and rescue service, in a modern Britain, that we don't accurately represent the communities we serve. And for me, there has to be a really concerted effort through the National Fire Chiefs Council that all services are really committing to measures they can take to start to intervene. We can't do this on a drip approach. It has to be done with some very clear measures that all services are signing up to. And whether that is about starting to think about how you recruit in the future, but not just recruit in the bottom, but how you start to think about the future middle managers and the future senior leaders, and connecting that with female candidates, with BME candidates, with candidates with disability. So it's tapping into those things and putting real measures in place that really start to make a change to the fire and rescue service that's visible to our staff, to the public, and to ourselves as individuals to say this is the right thing to do and we are operating in the right way. So reflecting on the smoke and mirrors report that AFSA have produced, I think it leaves us with some real reflections that we have to take away about how far we've really got and how far we still have to go. And that takes us into territory of not taking small iterative steps, which is where we've been. I've been in the fire service now for 27 years. And my concern is that we seem to be having a conversation to some extent that we were having 27 years ago when I joined. And that doesn't feel right. And not only does it not feel right, it isn't right. Okay. So therefore we have to do something different. There has to be a step change. So I want to reflect on some of the talks we've heard over the last 2 days through the AFSA conference and the subjects that have been covered, and everything from disability through mental health, through sexual violence, and all of those themes and other things that come together. And I'm sure for everyone in that audience, and I know for me, it's the personal reflections that it brings about me as a person, about my own diversity, and those connections it makes for me, and I'm sure it makes for other people, so that you really understand the power and importance of understanding every single person in your organisation brings an individuality. And you have to respect it, you have to give them the opportunity to be that individual and be that person. And your organisations have to be open to new people joining and for them to be the person that they really are. So Jagtar will always ask me, what's the one word that sums up AFSA? And it's really hard to pin it down to one word, because you would start with inspiring. But actually it's more than that, because if you work with AFSA, it's fun, and it's engaging, and probably when you get all of that together, it's empowering. So I can't get it down to one word, and it never should be.